Hello and welcome to another edition of Mailbag. What is Mailbag? Well, Mailbag is a feature of the channel where you guys leave lots of comments on the channel and I attempt to answer those comments, or if I can't answer those comments, I throw it out to you guys who have more knowledge on some of this stuff than I do. So let's get into the first mailbag of this session. Remember, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Go over to Instagram and follow me there. Go over to Facebook, follow me there. That's where the normal notices are. And consider becoming a Patreon. This question comes from Sonley. And this is in response to a rant I did, which was all about, is the art of DJing dying? Or is the art of a DJ a dying art? A video I did in December 2019. That was an interesting concept, and I still maintain, I don't think, unless you're spinning the platter and doing it manually rather than letting the computer beat match it to you, I think the art is dying. Then I'm going to get absolutely shot down for that comment, aren't I? Anyway, Sonley writes, club DJs don't make records these days. You don't see much experimentation either from 99.9% of them who feel the pressure of promoters just to play what's hot. The pressure from promoters has always existed. In fact, I can remember, I'll tell you this anecdote, I'm not going to tell you who it was, but I was in a nightclub one night with a particular individual who thought he was rather famous, and a record promoter came up to him and gave him a record, which was, to be fair, a load of dogs, whatever. And he put this record on, he played it for about a minute, possibly, then took the record off and over the microphone went, "Who wants this pile of..." Yeah, you can get the drift. And then just slung the record across the dance floor. Nowadays you get done for health and safety for doing that, but back in those days you didn't get done for it. You did get a stern talking to by the manager of the club, I might add. Anyway, to go on, Spotify has narrowed music taste for people who... So did TikTok. It's all about chasing the same fleeting trends for younger crowds, or old classics for mature. It was better in my day, the crowd. Or it was the better in my day crowd, should I say. I fall into the middle of both now, so it's not my place to be a tastemaker any longer. Best thing I ever did was give up DJing as a career, because now I enjoy the Blairic beats, for example, where you can enjoy mixed genres, vinyl or laptop. It's all good. The pressure of seeing it as a job, which it is, has ruined many person's enjoyments of music if they stayed in the profession for far too long. During the 70s, 80s and 90s, this was a fresh and popular music was an art form. It is almost a rite of passage, status symbol, and today it's just not like that with so many competing mediums. You know what, I was a DJ from 1989 through to the mid-90s, at which point I mainly gave it up in favour of the day job. But I still dabbled in, doing the odd event, the odd club, until the turn of the millennium. Although, really, do we really give up DJing? But you propose a really interesting perspective on this. In the current mediums, do streamline the music styles or the trends. That's how Spotify makes its money, because people create playlists and those playlists are genreized, and they promote those playlists on Spotify to get into your face. I'm not a great playlist fan, by the way. I really don't have... I prefer to pick my own music rather than get playlists. But occasionally I will listen to a playlist of up-and-coming music. Now, you have people out there that curate these things. So they're the kind of people who are actually, I suppose, really pushing the taste, the genre, the trend. But a lot of this playlisty type stuff it's no more than a pay-to-play scam that was operated by promoters in days gone by, where you played to get a spot at a venue with the promise of door revenue or take-ins, and at the end of the night you got nothing because of some convoluted resolution or a big bouncer. I can attest to that. I can tell you of one venue I worked at when I was first started DJing, and I got into this venue. In fact, the promoter rang me up because somebody had let him down, and he rang me up and said, "Are you interested?" And of course I was at the time. And he said, "Oh, you won't get paid for it, but you'll get a percentage of the door take." And at that point in time, I wasn't savvy enough to say, like, what? And we came to the end of the night, and he said, "Oh, we didn't make enough on the door, so you don't get anything." And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got a room full of people, probably circa 500 people, and you're telling me you haven't made any money. At that point, there was a big gruff bloke who sort of like stood up behind him and said, "Do you want to make something of it?" And the answer was no. Consequently, I never worked for the guy ever again, and I put the word around amongst my friends that they never worked for the guy ever again. In fact, actually, I know of one DJ who I worked with quite a lot after that, who actually had this guy up against the wall, and the big gruff bloke who stood up behind him had already been laid on the floor by that point by the same bloke, because he was considerably larger than I am, both in height and in stature. Anyway, I do digress. Now, like you, I gave up DJing, probably because I found the music becoming very, very samey. I'd go when I was working in clubs. You get the A&R guy, and the A&R guy would come up and give you a vinyl, or the vinyl would come through the post, and you put it on, and it just sounded like the previous 10, 12 inches that you played. You didn't find anything that was actually really going to bounce the dance floor. It was kind of more background mood music rather than actually hardcore dance, which is kind of what I did at the time. Producers would put hooks into the records. When you dropped it, you knew you had a dance floor, and those were the records you really were going for. You were going for those records that you knew people would recognise. You could put into the mix, and all of a sudden the hook would come in, and bang, the place would be buzzing. Rather than, there are clubs where you can play anything as long as the beat is right, and you will maintain a dance floor. There are other places where you want to drop the tunes. But that's my personal appearance. Dance floors have to be built. They don't organically glow. That's the job of the DJ. How many records did I get given? People always ask me that. Well, if you were getting records, how many did you get? And I'm going to put it this way, all right? That I used to get given records on a weekly basis by promoters. They used to come through the post from various promoters, A&R, whatever it happened to be. And most of these never made it into my boxes. And the next weekend, I'd be down Notting Hill Gate selling them. And I don't think I would make any mistakes in getting a ride of vinyl doorsteps. And to be honest, I made supplemented income, because Notting Hill Gate didn't care what you took down to the music exchange. They bought it by the inch. But I just feel nowadays you just get clones, and you have to go and seek out the new music. There are artists out there that are making different, interesting, listenable music, but you do have to go and hunt it out. You really do. And again, I've said many times on the channel that I'm an album person. I like to listen to an album. I don't just track hop, which seems to be sort of what the generation behind me does. Oh, I like that one, but I don't like that one, so I'm just going to take that one and stick it in my playlist, and I'm going to take... That's not how music should be consumed in my mind. If an artist has bothered to put an album together, you should listen to the album, because there's normally a theme through the album. So, that's the reason why I kind of like albums. So I kind of don't want to. I don't want to follow the algorithm. But saying that, music, good music, new music is hard to find in the plethora of Spotify uploads. I mean, I've done videos in the past that, Spotify, I can't remember, was it 16 million songs a year or something ridiculous. You can't consume that sort of volume of music. It's a small percentage if you're really lucky. Now I do listen to a number of podcasts while I'm working. So when I'm sitting there sort of typing documents or reading things, quite often have music on in the background, and that's kind of quite often how I find out about new music. People being interviewed, people saying other artists in their genre, so you go and seek out those other artists to see if you like their music as well as because you like the music of the artist who's being interviewed. Quite often that's a good way of getting into new music rather than having to trawl Spotify, which is a very painful process. Now, I agree, not being a DJ, you are allowed to enjoy the music you enjoy as opposed to the music you're expected to play.